Oh yeah, let's talk some Castlevania music. It's kind of staggering to me just how much I like the background music to these games, considering I only get to hear like 10 seconds of it before I ended up dying. I'm pretty bad at these games, not gonna lie. But hey, these tracks were damn fine. And naturally, since it's a big, well-known franchise, there are plenty of covers and remixes on YouTube and Overclocked Remix among others that do a fantastic job of reimagining the melodies in fun and unique ways. But interestingly enough, Konami themselves were onto something back in 1991, when, way ahead of their time, they released an entire album of official remixes of the music from the games, up to and including Castlevania IV, just to show that they were hip with the cool kids. This could be their magnum opus, their crown jewel of jams, their wait, hang on. What genres of music were popular in 1991 again? That's right, baby, we got the Castlevania hip-hop bars, let's go! Now, most of these tracks were instrumental, and they are pretty good, to an extent that it almost feels like it's a shame to gloss over them the way I'm about to. But the real meat and potatoes here are the 3 vocal tracks. They're so cheesy that it's almost hard to pay attention to anything else in the album. And speaking of vocal tracks, kicking off the album is...
I'm awake. Oh yeah.
Babe, wake up! New wake-up alarm just dropped. Honestly, imagine every time Dracula wakes up he announces to himself and the world that he is awake and nyehehes all over the place. God, I wish I had a fraction of that self-confidence. Also, I get this weird impression that the vocalist had never, up to that point in his life, heard of Dracula. I feel like the director just handed him the script and went, yeah, you've heard of Dracula, right? You know him, big scary guy, and the vocalist just nodded along like, uh-huh, yep, got it, boss.
Don't be afraid. I only want your blood.
Who is he even trying to court here? Better question, why is Dracula coming off so weirdly sexual here? Sure, I know there are depictions of the character that go that route, but it just doesn't feel like Castlevania's Dracula. At this point, you may also have picked up on the best part of these tracks. That bass line is so damn good. I hope the bassist got paid well for carrying the whole album, or if it's 100% bass samples, then big kudos to the producer.
I sleep all day, just to party at night. You see, the sun bothers me.
Oh my god, he's just like me for real for real.
Come go on a fantasy trip to hell. 'Cause I'm the devil's playmate.
He's the devil's playmate? Seems like a weird fact to throw out about yourself when you're trying to match people on Tinder. Another strange fascination that this album has is reminding us constantly that he's called Dracula. It keeps popping up at the end of choruses and verses as if it's supposed to be some big oh shit level reveal, but they use it every other line. Like, we got it dude, you're Dracula. We'd fucking hope so. Who doesn't want to go on a fantasy ride to hell with Dracula? After all, it's still probably safer than Action Park. This part kinda reminds me a little of the Lost Woods remix that's used in Cadence of Hyrule, which made me realise something. How is there not a Castlevania crossover with Crypt of the Necrodancer? It fits thematically, the franchise has heaps of good songs to remix, hell, even the subtitles of half the games sound like they'd work already. Hell, if you need suggestions for song titles, I'll shout some out for free. Monster Mambo, Skeleton Shuffle, Belmont Boogie, Werewolf Waltz, Disco Dracula, Zombie Samba. Konami, hire me, you cowards! Parts of this sound closer to a Donkey Kong Country level theme than Castlevania. The vocal samples are oddly reminiscent of Sonic 3's launch bass zone, which wouldn't come out for another couple of years. It's It's got a weird 80s house remix vibe going, but hey, it's an absolute jam when it all comes together. I'm also pretty sure that the opening hook is what happens if you were to melt down every Gloria Estefan beat into one big mega mix.
Do you remember a long time ago in Transylvania? There was a man named Dracula. He was a vampire.
Do I remember this thing that happened like 100 years ago? Nah, not really. Also, why do they have the second vocalist pop in and really emphasize in Transylvania? But only in my right ear? Is it meant to be Dracula leaning in to whisper sweet nothings into my ear? Is it to hammer home the pun in the franchise's name?
He slept all day and stalked all night. He had a craving for.
I could gush for hours about how good that bass line is. Like, holy shit, this might genuinely be my favourite take on Bloody Tears, and there's like one version of it in every game. Well, at least it would be if we were only discussing the instrumental sections of the song. Now, quick question for the audience. Could you imagine what a 90s Saturday morning cartoon intro song would sound like for Castlevania? Well, if you can't, don't worry, I got you covered.
It's been 100 years since Dracula made his move. He's back, he's ready, coming soon.
I'd watch the shit out of Darkwing Dracula. Now, I want you to pause again and ponder another important question. And only partially because I need to break up the track into smaller chunks to satisfy fair use rules. Can you name the main character of Castlevania? Okay, sure, I know there's a few options here, so let me narrow it down a bit to bring attention to the one I'm thinking of. The one I'm going for is one of the Belmonts, and his name begins with S. Sorry, Trevor. Now, the rest of this chorus depends heavily on the song producers knowing that name. And you may be thinking, well, yeah, duh, what a weird observation to make. Which is fair, but just keep that in the back of your mind, because it affects the song and it's really subtle. Let's see if you can hear it.
Dracula, you better beware, your time is through. 'Cause Simon is coming after you.
Simon? Simon is like the least intimidating name possible. How did they mess that up? I highly doubt Dracula is shitting his pants in his castle and Simon is coming after him.
He's coming right now. I get ready right now.
Also, I don't know about you guys, but the bridge out of the chorus seems very innuendo-y.
You better not pout. You better not cry. You better not shout. I'm telling you what. Dracula, Dracula, Dracula is coming to town.
What the hell? Did they mix up who Dracula was with fucking Santa Claus when writing this song? Even with the cheesiness, I absolutely love this song though. Couldn't really imagine it being in a Castlevania game though. This song is pretty interesting. It sounds like a cross between a SNES-era JRPG town theme and a boss theme, with an ever so slightly sped up clock ticking noise to create a sense of uneasiness. Then about 90 seconds in it just sort of devolves into noise? Like not even in a cool way like a metal solo or dubstep drop. It's more like they accidentally clicked on a bunch of audio samples in their library one after the other and forgot to remove it in post. And then it just goes right back to where it was before that moment. It really takes away from an otherwise cromulent track. Hey, ever wonder what a Jun Senui cover of a Castlevania song would sound like on a Dreamcast? Yeah, that's right, it would absolutely rule. And this song is like a glimpse into the good timeline where that happened. This one's very repetitive and ultimately doesn't build up to anything. It's a largely forgettable track that gets overshadowed by everything else on the album. And yet, somewhat ironically, it's the one I could picture being used in a Castlevania game the most. Now this is more like it. This right here is a 5-minute orchestral reimagining of Castlevania III's Prelude theme, and it absolutely blows the original song out of the water, which is exactly what you would want out of a remix on this album. For real, how have Konami not used this track anywhere else? Okay, sure, Symphony of the Night went for a wailing electric guitar for its own Prelude theme, but you're telling me they made this and never thought to use it in a flashback anywhere? This is by far my favourite track on the album. It's like a Legend of Zelda song, a Final Fantasy song, and a Castlevania song all in one. What's not to love? Oh boy, the last vocal track on the album. And it's of the track that springs to mind when I think of Castlevania music. I can't wait to see how they improved it.
Night stalkers, you better beware. I'm out to get ya, 'cause I know you're out there.
He's the Belmont Man, and he's coming to get ya.
Everyone's afraid to walk the streets because of you.
I can't think of worse lyrics to lead into the iconic da-da-da-da part. How are we supposed to buy that this guy is going to ever defeat Dracula? It seems like he would get defeated by a shopping list that was too long.
Women, men, boys and girls, you'll take them all. That's why I'm out here to put you to a stall.
Hide your kids, hide your wives, and hide your husband, because Dracula be taking everybody out here.
I don't believe in vampires, I don't go for all that mess. True, I travel around the world, put them to the test.
You don't believe in vampires, but you fucking hunt them? Simon, bro, what are you doing?
'Cause the women, the kids, the boys, the girls, they're all afraid of you. But I'm here to stop you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Night Stalker.
These lyrics are one step away from being full on, my name is Simon and I'm here to say. I'm not sure if it's the instrumentation of this version or the melody itself, but the intro gives off strong, going on a pirate adventure vibes. For a split second I was half expecting it to become a full-on Jean-Michel Jarre bop, but it does revolve itself back into a rock song with a very good guitar solo. Seriously, did they get the guitarist from Rainbow to do this riff? Okay, so quick pause here. My first draft of this video made that comment half as a joke, but while putting everything together, I learned that this wasn't actually as far off the mark as I had thought. Apparently, the guitarist, or at least someone else on Konami's sound team, was a big Yngwie Malmsteen fan, and the original song was actually inspired by his shredding on the track Far Beyond the Sun. Now, Malmsteen wasn't Rainbow's guitarist, that would have been Richie Blackmore, at least that's who I remember it being. However, he was in another band called Alcatraz, with one of Rainbow's lead singers, Graham Bonnet, and they did the odd cover of Rainbow songs. I basically ran out of things to say about this cover of Dwelling of Doom. It's fine, it was mostly carried by the guitar, but I just wanted an excuse to bring up Alcatraz's cover of Lost in Hollywood, because holy, that song goes hard. This sounds like a cross between a game over theme and an ending theme, so it's a perfect fit to close out this album. It kicks up in the middle and once more near the end of the song as well. Part of the sound font sounds like it's pulled straight from the game console's sound chip, except way cleaner, and the outro is like a bombastic ending to a classical music piece. I was half tempted to stand up and applaud at the end of the song. It's a great final track to round out an album with, but it almost feels out of place being on this album in particular. especially given the crazy shit going on in the first half of the album. But hey, that's just a nitpick. This song is very good. So yeah, that was the Cursed Castlevania album. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go play some Castlevania II, Simmons' Quest.